Alright, Shalom Israel. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, YAHAWAHSHI, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders that I learned this truth from, the men at GMS, and the brethren with a like-minded doctrine. I'm doing this lesson here is based upon this new statue that they put up, and I'm going to go into basically, you know, about what it is, the concerning the situation, about the statue and what it means. And I want to bring this article right here out first. See, it says, I'm not going to read the article, I'm just going to read the title. It says, an emancipated statue debut in Virginia 2 weeks after Robert E. Lee was removed. So this is the statue right here that was you read the bottom, it says the new Emancipation and Freedom Monument in Virginia, in Richmond, Virginia, featured two 12-foot bronze statues of a man and woman holding an infant who had been newly freed from slavery. So this is this bronze statue, which I'm gonna get into that too, was a monument given to the so-called black people or the so-called slaves for a monument. So I'm gonna go to this article here because it's a better look at the statue. See this the one of them, that's the lady there. You see, he got the chains hanging down from his arm. Chains right there, right? So I just got this article. It said the monument honoring about abolition of slavery unveiled in Richmond 2 weeks after Robert E. Lee statue was removed. So what I'm gonna get into, what the definition of emancipation is. Like, you know, the brothers know, but I got to bring it out. You know, I'm gonna get the definition and the root word of emancipate.
Emancipate.
It says emancipate. It says X means out, and E, and it says Emancipium, and it says slave. So it said, and it comes down, it says Emancipar, and it says Emancipat, and that means transferred as property. So that's what happened during the Emancipation, the Proclamation. You was transferred, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You was transferred from one slave master to another one, which means you were transferred as private property to state property, or public property. And that's the definition of emancipation. You still a slave. You were just transferred to another slave owner. So this statue is basically you've been set free, like a physical freedom. Like, you no longer have these chains on you, but you're still slaves and property to a slave master. So this statue is basically it's a false sense of hope. And I know they just created this holiday called Juneteenth, you know, which I'm not even gonna get into that. So that's like fake false hope of of the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that they trying to give you and perspective that you're free, you're no longer slaves, which that in that case is a lie. And I want to prove that also. I want to get this out of Baruch 3:8. It says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from Yahawah our power." So we in captivity to this day, you know. So we you can tell that because we are not being treated as we're being treated unjustly. People are still marching the streets for equality, giving the speeches and protests of I'm a human being, treat me equal, and all of this and all this that and the third. But you know, if you was free and you was you was free according to what they trying to say you are, you won't be have to you we won't have to march in the streets. Our people been marching the streets for nearly, I know for some time now, man. Maybe like 80 years, man. I came way before the 60s, man. I mean, way before the 70s, Salakia. But I want to get into more proof of that too. That we are still slaves according to it even says it in the law, in Esau's law, that we are slaves. So I got this clip here that I'm gonna play. I'm gonna let it read this book called The Matrix, as it is, you know.
Wow. This is about to blow your mind. The fraud behind the license. Those who apply for and marry pursuant to a marriage license have added a third party to their marriage contract. The third party is the master.
So he just said the third party is the master. So that lets you know if there's a master, of course there's a slave.
By and through his agent, the corporate state. The marriage.
See, that's who's the master, the corporation, which is the state. You're a state property. That's why when I was saying that the transfer, what it says emancipation, that means transfer of property. You was transferred from a private owner to to the state or the corporate owner, which you're transferred of property. You're not really actually free. You're just been transferred as property.
License gives the state the legal right to decide the fate of the husband, wife, and the possessions they procure during their marriage. Should the marriage fail, their divorce must now be decided by and through the state's corporate court by a corporate judge. And the judge's first and foremost concern is the interest of the state. The interest of the bride and groom is now secondary. Supreme Court case, Van Costen versus Van Costen. Wow.
So yep, that's more proof. That's more evidence that you've been transferred to property. They said everything you own, including your kids too, which you procreate. You know that procreation means create or make. You know what I'm saying? So your the offsprings are slaves too. So I wanna just clear that up that you're not emancipated, and I also want to bring this bit of history out. I mean, you're not free, so to speak. You're still a slave. You just been transferred as property. But I want to bring this out too, this bit of history, because the Emancipation Proclamation was declared in 1863. So in 1863, we were so-called free, but I just gave you the definition of what that situation meant. But what's going on here? I just gave you the definition of what that meant. Emancipation means transfer of property. So what guys here it says black people in the U.S. were enslaved well into the 1960s. So if we was free, there were still people enslaved during the 1960s. And it says right here, I'm gonna just read this paragraph here. It says more than 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, there were black people in the Deep South who had no idea they were free. These people were forced to work, violently tortured, and raped. So, that's the situation of our people, man. Because that's and like the scripture said, never trust thy enemy, man. So if they cared about you, that you was free, why did they not inform these people here to 100? It's been 100 years after this proclamation was given that that our people were still enslaved. And I heard an account. There was still people enslaved in the 1970s also. I seen an account, heard an account, did some research on that too. So that lets you know, man. Don't trust this demon, man. Esau Edom, man. You know what I'm saying? He's a demon. He's a devil, man. Devil means deceiver. You know, and that's why people are deceived now. They think that they're free. Our people think we're free. The so-called black people think, Latinos and Native Americans, you think you're free because you're not serving hardcore bondage and slavery. But hey, man, that's a lie. You still a slave, man. I just gave you the proof, and I just want to bring this bit of information out too about bronze sculpture. Let's see. Let me get the title of it. It says a short history of bronze sculpture and its most stunning examples today. So I want to just go to this section here, and it says modern art bronze sculptures. I'm gonna just jump down to the second paragraph, and it says, hold up, nah, that's not what I want. It's like, yeah, I want to get here in this section here. It says the materials golden age. I'm going to skip to the second paragraph, and it reads, although they were not the first ones to use the materials, the Greeks were the first to scale the bronze statue up to life size. So, the Greeks or the Romans was the first to make bronze sculptures, life size. And of course these are are, are bigger than life size, but it gives you the idea that who these people are, man. They are the Greeks or the Romans. This ideal of life size bronze sculptures. They basically um, had this put this into action. They are not the creators of bronze sculptures, but they were the ones to create life size sculptures. Of course, they made bigger ones too. So that's just also evident that these so-called white people are the Romans or the Greeks. In actuality, biblical term, they are the Edomites, which if you get in the word Idumean, which um, Herod the Great was an Idumean, Alexander the Great was an Idumean. But Idumean is a Greek. Greek or Roman way in saying Edom or Edomite. So that's who the so-called self-proclaimed white people are. They are the Edomites according to the Bible, and the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We are the Israelites, the children of the YAHAWAHSHI, the children of the Most High. So yeah, that just just to put that information out there, man, we are not free. You know, we are still in captivity to this day, like it says in Baruch. And I also want to get this also too out of first Esdras. Get this out of first Esdras, the eighth chapter. I'm gonna go to the 77th verse. And it says, first Esdras, the 8th chapter, 77th verse, and it says, and for our sins and our fathers, we were, Salakia, we, with our brethren and our kings and our priests, were given up unto the kings of the earth, to the sword, and to captivity, and for a prey with shame until this day. So that's us, man. You know, we was given up to the captivity for prey with shame until this day, man. Like who the only people that's getting mistreated um in a major way, man. There's only one nation of people, which is the so-called blacks, Latinos, or Mexicans, and Native Americans, man. We're the ones that was being mistreated, man, because we're in the hands of our enemies, the kings of the earth, man. We've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But I hope this. I'm not trying to make this video too long. I hope it was edifying. And I want to say, call Halayim La YAHAWAH by Hashem YAHAWAHSHI by Hashem Rakakadash. And Shalom till next time, Yahawah Ratazah, which means Lord willing, and Wa Ba Bo.